that they select their own list. We have the women, all the women in the community who do the same, and the men who do the same. They're all these three groups who are indeed the total members of the communities are called together. This is an exercise that is done openly and at the community square or wherever it's convenient. And then they agree on this list. And when they agree on this list, we sign off on this list with the community members themselves. They sign, and the community members maintain a list. There's a copy that is left with the community.
And then a copy that is taken to
then identify those households and register them.
Mr. Apera, how long does it take to create a list in each community?
Sorry, say again?
How long does it take to create that list of those that need an intervention in each community?
Now, the activities in the community could range from a day to a week, depending. We start with the sensitization, where we mobilize the members of a community, and we are specific where everybody's around. Members bring them together into a state takes a day. It's a whole day activity that will, depending on how quick and fast we're able to accomplish some of these discussions within those focal groups. It's a day, half a day type work.
You say you've been able to reach. How much of the country have you been able to cover since your office started out?
Like I said, we have offices established in 34 states and Abuja. At the moment, we're collecting data from all the states that I've mentioned, that I've stated. At the moment, in the National Social Register, we have poor and vulnerable households from 22 states. And the other states, we are still collecting the data.
These data you're collecting,
when we identify these households, we go ahead and we register them. Then we interact with this data. There is an interaction between the state government office that actually drive the process. Now, there's something I need us to note. It is first a state social register. What we do at the national level is to collate the state social registers into a national social register. Now, this is a huge database with a lot of potentials that the states use for their own planning, for their own work. Now, I'll tell you that in the social register, there are quite a huge piece of information that could be used for planning. I'll tell you that in that register of 578,000 households that I mentioned earlier, about 3.8% are with people living with disability. Now imagine a state that wants to do any program, a social intervention that is targeting poor people living with disability from poor homes. It's an easy database for them to plan for next year's budget, for instance, that is what we're going to do. An aged program of people above 75 years old. They know exactly the numbers that they should be planning for from poor homes, because this register will provide that information. So it's a state register first that is collected to be the National Social Register.
Mr. Iorwa, 578,000 households considered poor and vulnerable. That's what you're saying, right? That's what you have in your database.
For now, yes, but the register is growing every day.
And this is spread across 34 states, you said?
34 states and Abuja.
34 states and Abuja. Are you saying, because there are those who are concerned here, I have a question from Festus, who says this program appears to be colored, to be politically colored. Is there no political coloration to this? Just clarify.
Not at all, not in any way. And perhaps this is where we should give credit to the governors, the president, the vice president, which this office is directly under. I've not received any call or any push from any of them that if you're going to a state, for instance, start with this local government. The selection of the local governments that we start with is based on the geographical mapping, based on a statistical database that has been compared by other agencies that ranks the local governments from poor to the poorest that we pick. The second bit is the engagement with the communities. Only the selected, trained community targeted teams from the local government go into these communities to interact with the communities and select. The third is that it's the communities themselves that select these poor households. At that level, there is no partisan politics. Okay. The structure is not controlled by any member of the community that is belonging to any political party in any way. It's community members themselves. And we ensure that these three groups are given equal voice to select those they feel they are poor and vulnerable. When we come together, we then pull the list together. So it's a completely transparent process. Now, if you go to each community that we have started this process in, you will find the list that the communities themselves selected and signed, and they kept a copy. And if you come back to the register, you interface with it, you will see that it's those names of families that were selected by the communities that is in the social register. Now, to ensure integrity of the social register and ensure that it is devoid of any interference at all.
This database that you have, is it available
to the... We're working with...
is it available to the public?
It is available to the public.
So it can be verified by individuals?
Now, once you send me a request, of course, we will be able to avail you with the details of the register in the aggregate numbers to the communities. So
why do you need a request
that we work with?
Mr. Parrott, just to clarify, why do you need a request to be put in if you say it's available to the public?
It is available to the public. At the moment, we're developing our website that you will have it right there. The figures are right there in all of the communities in the aggregate figures. But you know, with data security and issues, we will not put to the public space the details, individual details of the family. But you will get to say community X, the total number of poor households. At the moment, I can share with you total number of households in each state. So for instance, Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, we have started in Abaji, Buhari, and council wards. Now for these two council wards, for instance, you have the poor and vulnerable households that have been selected by their communities, and we can give you that detail. We can give you the details of the communities, and you can go to the communities and interact with the communities themselves, and you will realize, or you would identify those members of the communities very clearly. Now, eventually, when the website is fully developed, the electronic links and the MIS system is fully developed, all of these links will be available to the public. You just need to go there and you find the details. Now, the interesting thing again is that we take this information with geo coordinates. So with a unique number that we'll call the social register number, and with the geo coordinates, you can identify that household anytime. And this information will be in the public space.
When's the deadline? What's the timeline for this information to be in the public space? Because I do know that some people are already requesting. They want to know how to get in touch. They want to get that information. So when would be that deadline when we can get this information in public space?
We are very hopeful that in the first quarter of next year, we should have our electronic-based or our website up and running, and you can interact with. In the meantime, we encourage everyone to feel free to reach me and the office. We are at the State House, number 76, Alia Kilo Crescent, Asokoro, in the office, NASCO office. And of course, I avail you with my email address, phone number, and anyone can reach me who want to access this. We can also leave the data, the summary of the database with you that points to each state and the total numbers of the poor and vulnerable families so far in the register in each of the states. And of course, every member of the public is also encouraged. You can go to the state offices. So for every state office, it's located in the office of the planning ministry. of that state. Now, in some states, it's Office of Budget and Planning. In other states, it's Office of Economic Planning. Other states, it's Bureau for Economic Planning. Whichever the planning, whichever agency is responsible for planning of that state, that's where the state coordinating office is located. And a copy of the social register for that state is residing in that state office.
And you say there are 34
therein.
Which are you talked about 34 states plus the FCT. Which 2 states don't have this yet?
Lagos and Ogun.
So Lagos and Ogun are the only 2.
They are also fully on board now with the team selected. So we'll be heading there to start the CBT activities.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Apera. Now, I have a question here from Onyema Okenwa, who's asking how the NGOs can key into this, especially in the face of what we discussed earlier about the NGOs in the Northeast having their challenges and dealing with the internally displaced persons. Are you carrying the NGOs along? And is this not a question of duplication of duties by different parastatals or not?
No, it is not. First, I'll start from the last question. It's not a duplication of duties. We're the only federal entity saddled with the responsibility of building the Poor and Vulnerable Register. There are several programs who are building beneficiary register, and there's a difference between a beneficiary register and a social register. A beneficiary register is program specific. It's targeted at that program and what they are doing. So, for instance, a humanitarian agency that is looking at IDPs and giving food stamps for food programs, they will register people who they are dealing with and giving food stamps.
All right, thank you very much.
Social register.
Mr. Iorwa, I'd like to thank you very much and crave your indulgence. We really have to go right now. Apera Iorwa is a national coordinator of the National Social Safety Net Coordinating Office. Thank you for joining us and sharing your thoughts on what you do. And we wish you well in your endeavors. Sunrise will be back in a moment. Please don't go away.